Thanks all. All right, so we're going to open up the session, which is what is really a keynote address. But unlike a keynote that just is supposed to set the tone for the meeting and what's supposed to come, this is really great material that you can actually apply to your business and to your desk. And we're largely perm folk. Just about everyone's perm. We've got some retained folk here. We've got some people who've just been doing it a year. We have Tina, who's just new to it. And again, I think this can help all of you. And what we're going to get into, what I love in all my training, and you're going to see throughout, is I like to weave in the sort of psychological elements that make people tick, that why calls work, why people react to certain things. And you know, it probably comes down to the fact that both my parents were psychologists and social workers, and my mom was a psychiatric nurse, and they both did therapy. They didn't have therapy, they gave therapy, but they probably had that as well. And I just love what makes people tick. And so really, this is great for a recession. This is awesome for good times, you know, because the point is, it's really tough, you know, to keep your head up high when you're in a recession. But if you remember, when times are really good and when times are busy, it's also super, super stressful. Okay, so this is all about, it doesn't matter whether you're a manager. How many people here are managing people? All right, raise hands. We've got more than raise their hands. But whether you're a manager, this is applicable. Whether you run your own desk, it doesn't matter. And this is geared, you know, for both, of how you can really, again, weather the storm in good times or bad and keep your energy up and keep yourself motivated. So as we look at all of the things that we're going to cover over the next 2 days and all the hundreds of notes that you're all going to take in your to-do items, how can you really be energized to pull these off and to make these happen? And that's what this is really about. So I do recommend a book. I don't often do it, The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Loehr. It's a great book. I cover some of the points here, but I'm going to go off on most of it. But it really talks about, and I think it covers the essence of what I've been preaching for years anyway. And he does it in a very sort of scientific manner and talks about how the body really works, and it will complement what I'm talking about really well. His opening, when I first read it, was something that I've talked about forever. And he talks about the fact that something is wrong in the world. Right? Everything is very, very fast-paced today. We have all of our computers. We have all of our gadgets. We've got information overload, right? We've got Outlook, and we've got tasks, and now we have social networking, which you didn't get into then. And all these things take away from personal connectivity, and they just add tasks and to-do items and stress on everyone. And it creates what he refers to, and certainly what I always refer to, as a certain meltdown. And it's really interesting when you look at some of the things that he talked about and some of the things I'm going to talk about, so you can see how hard corporate life is, or recruiting life is, or sales life is. Super, super difficult when you really look at it. Right? So nowadays, forget it. There is no downtime. I mean, everyone's got their BlackBerries or their iPhones, and you know, you guys will be checking them during the presentation. You'll be out on breaks. You'll be getting text messages at 1 in the morning, and this creates, on the one hand, a satisfaction that you're on top of things. On the other hand, there's tons of industrial psychologists who have decided that this is nuts, and it's really killing people on a slow death, because there's no time to recharge, anymore. Now, here's a great concept in time management, and this is something that you'll hear from a lot of time management gurus. It's addressed a little bit in this book, but the concept is, that you can't really manage time. You can't. It's impossible to do. There's only a certain amount of hours in a day, all right, so that's fixed, but your energy level varies. Right? There's a very, specific, limited amount of energy that any of us have. So it's all about this energy. And I want you, when I'm talking about this, to think about the life on your desk or in your business or in your office and how this affects you on a daily basis. All right? So the key to really being effective, and the key that I've ever seen in the best time management courses, and what I got really great at, that I think really contributed, to my career, was less about time management in these tools and more about energy management and understanding how you tick without getting too out there. Okay, I'm not going to get too psychological, but understanding how you tick and work with the body's normal ebbs and flows so you can maximize your energy. When you do that, you can accomplish a lot more than you would ever do before. So again, the point for him, for me, for everyone is that it's all about the energy. Right? So it's not measured by how much time we spend when you look at life, right? It's how much energy that we invest and how we invest the energy. And I always love, for whatever reason, it always makes me think of The Wizard of Oz, you know, the great scene at the end where I've seen that a million times, right? But every time, you know, the wizard goes to the Tin Woodsman and say, a heart is not judged by how much you love, but rather by how much others love you. You know, it's a horrible wizard accent, by the way, and that's not one of my best things. But that's really the point, okay? So this is what it's all about. So look, this is really the key, and you could find the point here that motivates you. But do you want to get your motivation back? Every time I do a seminar, I always talk to someone offline that says, boy, this is what I needed. This is really the inspiration sort of that I needed. Your energy, it's, you know, infectious, it's contagious. I used to be like that. I want to get it back. And look, I'm not like this all the time, but I will say I've really mastered a lot of techniques to feed myself the energy that I need to be motivated when I have to. And that's the key, in spurts and things that we're going to talk about. So, you know, if you get that passion back, if you want to get the passion back of people that you work with, if you don't want to be miserable, as some people in this room are on Sunday nights, if you don't want to be sapped on Friday night when you get home where all you want to do is sit on the couch now because you're fried from the week, you really can avoid it. And again, I'm not a motivational speaker that's going to come here and tell you all these great things and tell you how you have to get up at 4 in the morning and run that half marathon because that's what you need to do. And I'm obviously not sitting here all chiseled in my physique where that, look, it's great and I respect the heck out of people who train like that. But anytime I see one of those guys that, oh, I just slept 3 hours and I did 400 push-ups before I came here, and that's why I'm successful, and that's what you need to do. It's great, dude, but I'm 46, I haven't done 400 push-ups in the last year. I can't relate to it. So hopefully you can relate to a slightly stocky Jewish person from New York, you know, right? So, all right. So, you know, you'll have these handouts for you. I don't think you have to worry about it too much. But again, these are different things that you need to look at. And it talks about your moods and your ebbs and flows and just, again, how you can really sort of balance everything. So you'll have this. This is a super interesting slide. And actually, before I put it up there, don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look. I hope you didn't look. Whoever didn't look, how productive do you think the average person is? If you looked, please don't answer. How productive is the average worker in America? 30%. Or if you're Jill? Oh, welcome. So the average Canadian worker. How productive? 30%. 30%. What else? 40? 40. All right, so these are pretty good guesses, right? I mean, look at this, though, and it's a crazy number. 20 to 40. Most studies will show around 20. I've seen plenty around 30. You'll never hear anything higher than 40. Now, what does that mean? That's the maximum productivity a person can have. We know that that doesn't happen, but 20%, think about what it means. And I want to put this because I think the number is closer to 20. That means if you can work using techniques to get your productivity to 40%, that means still be 60% unproductive. You will have double the production that you had before or double the production of your peers. Let's say the number is 30. If you are 45% productive, 55 unproductive, you'd still be 50% better than what you did before and than other people. So you don't have to change your life, you don't need to become a machine, but this is some crazy numbers. And there's been all sorts of studies. Microsoft did one like 5 years ago that was really famous, right? And they talked about the number of hours, 17 out of 45 hours, you know, in the week there, you know, were productive, roughly the same stats. You then have this concept of engagement. And engagement hasn't been in the news as the economy has slowed down, but an engagement's a major issue affecting the workforce across North America. See, for our Canadian people. Right? So let's think about this. Engagement is the key that make people want to stay, want to be productive, not want to leave their company, want to get up and do what they need to do. Right? But most people are not engaged. Now, when candidates are hard to find, when unemployment is really low, that becomes a big issue because people want to get their employees engaged again. Yeah, because that's what they need and that makes their company great, but financially that's what they want to do. They still need to do it in bad times, but they're not as worried because where are they going to go? If you're not engaged, you don't like it, we'll get someone else that's engaged, right? It's sort of the attitude in a recession. These numbers are staggering. 55% of workers are not engaged. They're not into what they do. They're not satisfied. They're not motivated. They're not uplifted. They're doing their job. That's 55. 19%, that's 1 out of every 5 are actively disengaged. That doesn't mean someone that's going to switch jobs. Well, they will switch. This means someone that is downright miserable. 1 out of 5 can't stand what they do, will take every opportunity that they can to badmouth what's happening. Some of you have been actively disengaged in jobs and you just became a different person. Oh God, I'm negative now, everything's aggravating me, things are bothering me, this happens. That's a 19%, okay? And so again, they share these feelings. Now, for managers out there, this is very scary. And you know, it depends on the group that I talk to. Mostly I just deal with recruiters. This is certainly great news for recruiters. I mean, we do want to have a fairly disengaged source of candidates. That helps for job movement, that helps for actual increase in revenue potential in our sector, and that's wonderful. So that's great. But have things gotten better or worse, do you think, for engagement as the economy slows down? I mean, worse by far, right? Now again, just to take a step back, and this is motivation for why this market will continue to be awesome for recruiters and those that have lasted, right? I mean, roughly half the recruiters were lost in this past recession. Not uncommon, but very high. If you go back to, many people in this room were in the business during the great boom of the 90s, right? Hands? A lot of people in the 90s. Right, remember when that was like? Some markets had 2% plus unemployment. Regular unemployment averages around 4 or 5%. Remember, it was impossible to find candidates. We were offering candidates anything we can. Remember what happened with all the companies? There was this huge change, huge shift in focus about the candidate, the employee. We love you now. We're different. And everyone really felt that things were changing. People were so hard to find that companies were doing everything they can to give the candidates, the employees, what they wanted. Give them free coffee, give them bagels, give them juice, give them the extra time off, give them their birthday off. You want to work from home a day a week, 2 days a week, you got it. You want a laptop, you got it. You want benefits even though you don't really qualify for it, you got it. We have a new bonus plan, we have new this, and all that stuff that went on. Everyone changed everything because they had to. Now the difference is, the companies were telling people that they were doing it because we're a family. We believe in you. We're in this together. We want you to have this. Of course, I do believe many companies believed it. But they were doing it because that's what they had to do financially to not have their business crumble, so that they could keep their people and when it was so hard to find people. But people weren't idiots, and then of course 9/11 happened many years ago, and then people really felt that the world had changed, and they'll still feel that way forever. Right? Wow, people realize that it's about work-life balance. It's about enjoying myself. And it was great because all these things happened, and yes, productivity certainly was at all-time record highs. But that's because you're in a good economy also. I'm not going to say it's just because people were more inspired and people were doing everything they can to keep people engaged. But things didn't change. People were told that it was going to, and people felt that everything was different, but, well, 9/11 will extend the recession maybe a quarter. Well, it was a pretty rough recession. Nothing compared to what the recession turned out to be, less than a decade later. But the companies pulled the laptops, they pulled the working from home, they pulled the benefits that they added, they made people start paying for their coffee or for their bagels, or they stopped the bagel programs, they stopped all the other things, and it became, once again, be happy that you have a job. Now, I say this as from a recruiter perspective because that was such a major issue in the last recession that I talked to anyone who would listen to me on TV, at analyst conferences, and I said, I'm completely confident, and mark my words, that what's going to happen in that recovery is you're going to see permanent placement explode in the recovery. And it's going to recover faster than temp. And Neil, this is from Goldman Sachs. So please, faster than temps never happened. I'm like, it's going to happen because there's this pent up anger and issues, and people are going to move. So whether there's great job growth, it has nothing to do with that right now. There's going to be lots of movement, and unemployment, it was still at that time relatively low, and it's going to happen. And certainly, I called that one right, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen going into the next decade in terms of the recovery. What I'm saying is that issue is still there. That lack of engagement and that feeling that, man, this isn't really what I want out of life, and this is so hard, and people are promising me that I should be happy that I have a job, and that's enough. So these issues are still really, really big. People are really angry, and this represents a great opportunity for recruiters. The other great opportunity for recruiters is 50% of firms are out there. So stop listening to all the data that you see. There is, look, bad times are always bad times. But any time a sector loses 50% of their people, okay, even if the market shrinks 30% in total, that means each remaining player gets to increase their billings and their revenues from previous years. So you have the option to pick up market share, which many people are doing. Okay, again, I am shocked when I go around and I deal with companies and I hear people that are having a really bad year because they billed 1.2 million last year, and this year they're only able to do 850,000. There's a lot of people doing this. This isn't one or two or three. The business is definitely down. Those that did 400 before, some of them are, I'm able to do 400 this year, or I did 300. Those that did 200 before and weren't really, recruiting or sourcing or doing a lot of things, well, yeah, they're getting clobbered and they're only doing 80. But there are a ton of people still billing $1 million a year, some doing more than they did last year. But as a rule, again, you got to change your bar, you got to view it differently. There are plenty of people that have learned how to make a lot of money, and most importantly, their motivation and their inspiration is knowing that in the next quarter, month, year, maybe 2 years, whatever the time frame is, they're in a great position to get the fastest growth in the marketplace. So it will remain a good place to be if you're a recruiter, and again, especially for these issues that we talked about there. So now, I'm not going to get too much into these 4 points, but this is what I loved, by the way, about the book. And they just talk about energy. And again, I'm going to get off of this a bit, but it just talks about 4 different levels of energy, and you need to work on all of them. So there's the physical energy, there's emotional energy, there's mental energy, there's spiritual energy, and again, all these things are really, really critical. And when I say spiritual, it's not religion, it's really what I've talked about all the time. I am not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. Meaning, I really believe in everything works out for those who work hard, that some things do happen for a reason, that you create your own good luck, that I believe in a bigger purpose. There's religious people here, it can be God, it can be, I'm doing it for the goodness of mankind, I'm doing this because of what I want it to be for my life, for my family, and Tim gets into that a lot in his presentation, and that's really what I mean by spiritual, and it could be any or all of the above, okay? So, you can't just take people and train them and give them a manual, take competent people, put them out there and expect them to work, or expect yourself to work over and over again and do a good job. It's really super hard to do. And when you break it down, you have to look at why. And this is one last reference I'm going to give to the book because, again, I loved it because it takes away the sort of theory and it puts a science into it. I mean, if you look at the professional athlete analogy, and I've read about this in a lot of different places, be a corporate athlete, be a business pro. Well, what's the difference? In professional sports, think about it. They're a business of performing and producing. But look how different they are from us. A professional athlete produces how much time versus practicing? Anyone? How much time do they practice versus produce? Right? It's really closer to 90-10, 80-20, right? Again, here they're going to say 90-10, but you get the point. Right? They're practicing, they're doing their drills, they're getting really good at what they do. And then it's game time, it's show time. That's the time where they need to perform. They do all their work to make sure that they could perform. And they have all these great rituals and things that they do to manage their energy. Could you imagine if an athlete had to play basketball nonstop for 12 months, 12 hours a day? I mean, the game would be very, very different. Any sport would be very, very different. But here's the great thing. Too bad these guys don't get any time to renew and rest, right? I mean, when's the last time someone in this room had an off season of 5 months that you got to take off every year? Anyone? Normally there's one person that's an owner of a successful business. Yeah, I take 5 months off every year. I'm like, well, good, you're the motivation. But no, we don't get 5 months off every year. And how much do we have to perform? What's our statistic? How much do you have to perform and, in theory, be successful versus practicing and honing in for the time you're supposed to be successful? It's exact reverse. At best. There's no way the average person here spends 10% of their time training and getting ready to perform. No way. It's probably 5%, 95. Some it's 1, once they get good, it's 1%. People like you that come to a seminar or people that are watching this on a home video, they're more committed. So maybe that's 10 if you're lucky, right? And again, we don't have an off season. We don't have the ability to do that. So how does one go through life and try to be productive and perform at peak level? How can someone do it? The answer is you can't. It is not possible. Which is why the sales industry, the recruiting industry has a super high burnout level. Got news for you. Any sales business has a super high burnout level. Any repetitive business has a super high burnout level. Any high-paying job, except, the glamour industry, it's called an actor, or the flukes, have a very high burnout level because you are not meant to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, 8 to 10 hours at a pop, with no breaks and be productive week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, decade after decade. Who here wants to kill themselves? Anyone? Did I depress anyone significantly? Neil, this is supposed to be a keynote opening, and I'm highly depressed. Well, join the club. It's impossible. But the key is it isn't. And look, I don't like the book at this point where it gets very esoteric about all these great rituals and habits, and here's what Tiger Woods did, and here's what all these other guys did. But Tiger Woods is a bad timing as he's been in the news a lot lately. See, now we're dating the video. Yes, Tiger had an automobile accident recently. All right, so look, the key is we need to be able to perform over and over and over and over and still perform, and being happy and being passionate. And that's the key. And there are ways you can do it. So I mentioned it's all about the energy. Okay, I'm going to go through some of these things fast, but energy is just like any other muscle. And that's been studied and that's been really proven. You can't overuse it too much or you burn out or your muscle gets very, very sore, and you can't underuse it or it atrophies. That gets into a whole thing about why stress is really good. Endurance for energy is the same thing. You have to exceed your limits. Some of the best studies I've seen on energy management really have the exact analogy to dealing with any other part of your body or your muscle or your aerobic cardiovascular system. Any of it. Right? Anyone here of interval training? Right? Everyone knows what that is? It's become huge in the last 4 or 5 years. That, my goodness, you will actually get in better shape if you sprint or exercise really fast and slow down and walk, or take a slow jog and then sprint and then slow down. Much better than running at a fast pace regularly. All over the place. All the studies burn more calories, better for your heart, all these other things. And it's the exact same thing with your energy. You can't use your energy in a stable level, which is how your company, your past history, your boss, everyone's boss, has programmed you to be. We've learned to maintain our energy because we know it's impossible. We've learned to keep an even, sort of steady rate, right? But that's exactly wrong. That's the worst thing you can do to really be productive. And that's one of the main reasons why people are only 20% productive. So look, again, what I'm saying, what I'm going to lead to is you can really increase your productivity by just recognizing that and saying, great, Neil, some things are coming to mind. I think I know what you mean. How can I do this? And I'm telling you, it's really easy to do with a little commitment and how you can do it, okay? So, all right, in order to accomplish anything, you need 3 things, right? Purpose, truth, and action. This leads in great to Tim when he's going to talk about the why factors. But this is the key essence of anything, any change, any motivation, anything you ever do. Okay? So purpose. What is my reason? What is my compelling, motivating reason to do anything? Tony Robbins is awesome at this. He's copied a million other, famous people that all talk about this, but it's right at the root of everything. If you've never ever seen a Tony Robbins, product, just take that from it. It's all about your motivating reason, your compelling reason. What is your purpose? What is your employee's purpose? Okay? And it doesn't have to be too esoteric. Why? Why do I want to get pumped up now for what I'm going to show you has to be, peaks of energy? Why am I doing this? Why am I coming to work? What do I want to get out of this? And then the truth is you just have to be honest. You need to be honest with yourself. It's the looking in the mirror. What am I good at? What am I weak at? Does this apply? Doesn't it? And it's good to assume that I think I know the truth. I think it's not me. But what if it is? I think this is the problem. I think this is why this whole thing fell apart. I think this is why I'm not motivated to do this. But what if it's not that easy answer? And that's the truth. And then you need to take action. Okay? So, look, these are all great things. You need empathy, you need expectations, guidance, communication. But, that's the most important thing I want you to know. So, again, understand now what your purpose is and make that your own. Because Tim gets into that so well, I don't want to dwell a lot on it, other than you need to know yours or your employee's reason for getting up, wanting to do this. When you go back, why are you going to want to spend time doing any of these things that we're talking about this morning? What will you get out of it? Because I want to be happy again. Because you know what? I don't enjoy feeling stressed out like I do on Mondays and Fridays, or Mondays and Tuesdays, or whatever the case is. All right? And it has to be a really great, compelling reason why. Here are some other keys. Now this is what I put for managers that are out there. But it's equally important for yourself. One of the best leadership, tips I can ever give everyone is that people will follow you and they will love you and they'll go to the ends of the earth for you if you, A, give them that purpose. Give them that reason for coming into work and having a vision. Here's why we're doing this. Here's what life's going to be like in the branch, or here's what it's going to be like for you. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're doing it. Here's how we're going to monitor it. All right? And again, you make it compelling and you have a vision. The good news is it doesn't even matter if the vision is weak. People want to see that the person that they follow has one. All right. Well, Neil, I don't manage anyone. Okay, well then are you lying to yourself? If you don't have that, you can play with it, change it, but what's your vision for your desk, what do you want to do? How are you going to get there? This is part of it. How are you going to implement it? Maybe I want to create a new niche. You know what? I'm going to really work on the internet marketing thing first. Whatever it is that you're going to take from any training you've ever done or from this boot camp, what is it and what do you see happening? Right? And you visualize that. That's the key. And I've talked a ton about the mental exercises you can do. And look, a bunch of people here worked with me in the past. Most of you haven't. I was huge on this, and it was phenomenally successful. All right? I mean, I was the president of more than a $500 million division with 1,500 people. And we would do this. We'd create the vision regularly. That was my job as president. But again, I did it as branch manager or VP. It doesn't matter. Right? So again, you focus on the vision of what you want to accomplish and mental exercises to figure out what that looks like. And there have been all sorts of studies. I love watching, you know, stuff like the Discovery Channel and the History Channel and the Health Channel, and they have all these great things, but they have so many great stories on the brain, you're right, when they show you it in 3D and they show you the little electrical zaps going through the neurons, and they come in 3D at all sorts of angles, and they basically talk about how the brain works, how people learn. They learn by things getting repeated, and actually when you think about things and when you practice and when you repeat that, the synapses connect and they create new synapses, and that's how you're able to, you know, swing a golf club without thinking about it when you couldn't do it, or how you're able to rollerblade, or how you're able to play tennis, or how you learn to do anything. They also study the mind and creative thinking, and how the more creative you have, there are many, many theorists who believe, and again, if you don't buy into this, don't. There's nothing to lose from it. I very much do. They believe that if you just have your compelling reason, have your vision, and picture it. Close your eyes, or when you're daydreaming, or when you're in bed, or when you're there in the morning, picture what that looks like. Picture what it looks like when you are a $1 million a year producer. Why do you want to do that? What are you going to get out of it? And it sounds hokey, but I had my entire company do that when I took over. What does the branch look like? Let me tell you what we're going to do and what it's going to look like. Everyone close your eyes. Right? Close them. Now, I'm not saying you all have to close them, but I think you do. Close it and picture 5 years from now what you want to build, what that little empire is for yourself or your business. Now, I did this with the entire company. Here's what we're going to look like. Here's what the new offices are going to look like. Here's the excitement that are going to be on people's faces. Here's the clients that are going to be calling in because of the whole new look and the branding and everything that we're doing. Here's what it looks like, and that's what we were going for. And 4 or 5 years later, we hit 90% of that. But the point is, you need to have it, and it's a very simple thing to do. So get your compelling reason, visualize it, and that's a big part of it, okay? So, the truth, you know, I don't think we need to beat it to death other than be really honest with yourself, with your moods. And what I also want you to think about is, okay, I think what Neil's saying is, I'm moody. Sure you are. Just about everyone is. When are you good? When are you not on? When are you on? When are you in peak mode? When are you excited? What gets you excited at work? When you make great calls or you have a great run, when you're in the zone, what happened to get you in the zone? What are all these things? What's your best day? What's your worst day? When shouldn't you have meetings? When should you have meetings? When are you really crabby? When aren't you crabby? And you're all different. But if you're honest with yourself, you're going to notice some very obvious themes. And that's part of the truth. What percent of the time are you productive? And what percent do you think? Be honest. Because anytime I ever poll a room, who here thinks they're at least 80% productive? Now I set you up. Come on, don't be shy. Right?
20 rule, and 20% of the time it's pretty much how.
Right. So you're not 80. Who's 60% productive? Now, no one's raising their hand. Everyone, if I did this in the beginning, you'd all raise your hands, but you're all smart. But I'm not going to raise my hand now after you said this. I'm not going to get challenged. but look, be honest, what percent of the time are you productive, okay? So, again, this could be, different ways, that you can, look at this, how you arrange your desk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some of this stuff is geared towards managers in terms of people love and crave change. They do. You crave change. It just scares most people. Most people intuitively will tell you they don't like change, but they do. They do. You do, but you think you don't. I am telling you, I'm 100% certain of it. As president, the more change we had, the more engaged and the more successful people were. When we consciously slowed down the change, the worse things got. People will bitch about it, but why? The good thing about change, and I'm not saying change for the sake of change, but implementing new ideas, having new visions, going down different roads, it's exciting because it gives you that renewal. It gives you a reason, and think about why it works. It gives you a reason to be motivated, right? It gives people a reason to want to do what they have to do, okay? And that goes into micromanagement too. Again, not a ton of managers in here, but micromanagement is often overused. It's not really micromanagement when you follow up on details and you inspect what you expect to achieve the vision. It's only micromanagement, as I've seen in my old company with many people and in others, when it's just a number that doesn't help someone develop or get better. So people do crave attention and they crave your desire to work with them on their desk. So, all right, let's get back to this hostility to rest. Why have we become so hostile to rest when it's so important? And we've talked about how critical it is. You can't continue to just work these long hours. You can't not take vacation. I'm so convinced about all this well before I ever read any books on it that when I became president, I gave everyone an extra week of vacation. It helped. People need to be recharged. They need to take their time. People that would come to me and brag, oh, you should know, I have not taken a vacation day in 3 years. You know what? You suck. Honestly, that would not turn me on. I think there's a real problem there, and there's no way that person's productive. People need their time off. They need to recharge. They need to have fun, and you need to build this into your day. Take your vacation regularly. If you're a manager, make sure people take it. We gave this extra time off. My goodness, what was it going to cost us? Again, our records went through the roof. Now, I've heard of companies where they've recanted things like that and they've taken it back, and yeah, they saved some money in the short run and productivity dwindled. It's critical, again, when we get to this energy element, that we got to maximize, we got to recharge. If you buy into the fact that it's impossible, if you buy into the fact that productivity is so low, then you need to do something about it. That was always my point. All right, well, we're going to get people more productive by just following up on numbers, or by just telling them that they have to, or by firing the people that don't do what they need to do. Right? So if you buy into all that stuff, then you need to make these things happen. You could plan your downtime. I mean, I'm not great at taking breaks in the middle of the day. Like some will say, always take an hour walk for lunch. You are never too busy. That's not my thing, because I know myself and my energy. When I do that and when I break it, I'm not in the same place where I was. But by all means, never feel you don't have time for it. I'll do it I'll decide that I got to end my day at 3 o'clock. Or I'm going to take the next day off. Or I'm going to have a fluff day the next day, or whatever the case is. But again, get back to celebrating not only productivity, but celebrate renewal. Have some fun. There's the great stories about the Seattle fish market and the famous book Fish. There's great stuff in there. How can this fish market, anyone read the book or hear about it? It's an unbelievable story that, again, it just taps into all this. It's about, the Seattle fish market. It's one of the largest fish markets in the whole world. And there's this one market that sells like 3 times the amount everyone else sells. And you know how hard it is to find someone, and especially in a tight economy, to come work for minimum wage, chopping heads off fishes and cleaning guts? Not easy. These guys had no turnover. They weren't paying them any higher. These guys are having a blast. These are the guys that all the food shows go when they're in Seattle and they want to show it. And you always see the guys that pick up the big tuna and throw it at them. Or here's a big salmon. Yeah, salmon aren't that big, but the tuna are nice and big. Right? These guys have fun. They plan fun in their day. That's their shtick. They're allowed to goof around. It's celebrated. They're happier. Their customers are happier. The customers laugh. The customers want to shop there when they go back, not at the other place, because the people are having fun. How many companies, how many times do you say, oh, I got to be serious now. I'm in with my client. Or, I'm in, or the people are in here. Or I work for someone else and I want them to know I'm working hard. You need to goof off and encourage it and play throughout the day there. All that stuff is super, super important. So I don't want to build it other than, again, you need your shutdown times and all these other exciting things. Life is a marathon. We've all heard that, right? And this is the whole key. It is not a marathon. Has anyone ever run a marathon? Right? Hard, right? 26.2 miles in anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours, right? Could you imagine if they said, no, the marathon is, you're going to run all day. No. Just keep running all week. No. You're going to run for a month. No, you're going to run for a quarter. Nope, you're running for a year. You know what, on second thought, you need to keep running until you die. Anyone up for that kind of marathon? How can you have a marathon with no end? It isn't. It's the problem with how we're all wired. You can't. It's depressing. It's why so many people look forward to, I can't wait till I retire. I'm working, I can't wait till I'm older and less nimble. It's a truth. So many people, yeah, I know, I'm going to have hemorrhoids and I'm going to have problems in my, body and I'm going to look hideous but I can't wait till I retire. Again, why is that? You can't perform like this in and out, in and out. It isn't. Instead, it's a series of sprints. Or it's a series of sprints with a whole bunch of walking. It's some sprints and taking a nap. It's keeping the energy going. It's the only way you'd be able to do a marathon, let's say, that was a marathon that had you run from California to New York. You would plan the best strategy to renew, when I could eat, the optimal amount of sleep that I need to get, and how I could do it. It certainly wouldn't be called a marathon, because marathons are you keep going till you drop or till it ends. So it's a sprint. And this is the key of time management. This is the key of solving all of the energy issues, if you look at it. Okay? You want to fully engage and push. And renew and rest. Fully engage and push and renew and rest. It's different thinking from the way most of you work. But again, I think this sums up why people are so unproductive and why people are not motivated. So if you look at that, you're in great shape. Let me tell you about how this fits into what I always teach on time management. The best courses and seminars I ever took started in college for me on time management. And we met at this big hall, and I was a young kid, and I wasn't in business yet, but I was having trouble managing everything that I did at school. I was pledging a fraternity. My parents said, we're going to pay for college for you. If your grades drop, you're done. We're pulling the money. You got to be mature about this, and I was taking it seriously. Basically, the woman gave a different version of this, but it was geared towards time management, but it was still on the same concept that you can't just work and have this incessant, never-ending load of work. You need to have fun in college, and I know that you want to. You need to be able to do great things. You need to be well-rounded. So here's the key. You're going to see that the most productive person in school is only 30% productive, or whatever. I mean, similar numbers that you see in corporate America. So they said, here's what she left you with. Every morning when you get up, and I want you to try to not schedule classes first thing in the morning going forward when you can, but I want you to look at every day from 8 until 1 o'clock as a day when you are going to have intense focus and energy on getting everything done that you need to do. And I want you to reward yourself with an unbelievable life experience from 2 o'clock on. And take everything that you can and focus in that short period, and then you could use that energy. So look, that said, I applied that, and along with this, in my work life. And I'm not saying, I can't say in every presentation I've ever given, this is why I was successful and this is why I became president. But I am certain that this is one, and I have a couple other things I'm going to share, but this is one of the key factors that helped in my success. Because really what I did was I said, you know what? I can't be a machine, but I can be a machine for 2.5 hours every morning. So the concept in our business is, what if you just said, okay, every day, no matter what, I'm going to get in at 8:30, 8, 7 if you're an early riser, whatever it is, 9. And I'm going to have no interruptions. I'm going to be a machine until 11:30. No interruptions. I'm going to do everything I can to get my energy up. I'm going to be in peak state, and I'm going to be an animal, knowing that I could work at my own pace and chill out or have fun or leave early or whatever. Coast, do some online stuff, get caught up, work leisurely, not worry about the productivity. Look, you'll still have peaks where you'll want to, great, just like you do now. But it was life-changing for me because I was able to really double my productivity by just doing that. And that plays off on the fact that people waste so much time. To see this, here's what I want you to do. I want you all to create a time log. I want you to go back to work on Monday and Tuesday, and I want you to just write on a sheet of paper the hours separated by, whatever, just have a 8, a.m. and then a couple of lines and then 9. Don't make it anything, go all the way through the end of the day. I want you, if you're not doing this, I want you just to write down what you do. Made some marketing calls, had a cigarette, went to the bathroom, talked about the football game, made a recruiting call, answered a question about the benefits, made a handful of recruiting calls from 9:08 to 9:32. 9:32 to 9:40, sourced 5 or 6 potential names off of LinkedIn. 9:45 to 10, talked about Tiger Woods. Right? Whatever, I want you to do that. Now, knowing that you're tracking this and that you're going to look at it the next day, most of you don't have managers, so you're doing this for yourself. Now, knowing that you know that you're doing this, so you're already going to be more productive, I want you to look at what happens in the course of a day with your interruptions, with how your workflow is. And anytime you switch focus, there's a whole theory on that being worth the price of admission in terms of productivity. That every time you actually shift focus and talk about the Tiger Woods thing, and then you got to come back in and get back into your zone, that alone can increase your productivity 30% if you just avoid that and have that focus. There's so many reasons why all this works. So I want you to look at the time log over 2 days. You're going to be amazed at what you see. I was. And that alone will be reason to say, you know what? For now on, no interruptions for 2 hours. You can do that. That's the time where you're not getting interrupted. If you're a manager, here's my manager time. Here's a time where you know not to interrupt me. Hey, Neil, got a second? Nope. Nope. Talk to you later. Hey, is now a good time? Nope. But I'll get back to you at 3. But people will learn that if you're a manager. But again, block it out in time. And this is the whole key too. Now, it allows you to work with peak energy as well. So for some people, Neil, this goes against what you're saying. I know my biorhythms, and it takes me till mid-morning till I get in peak zone. Then you don't want to do it first thing. So look, that's a very simplistic view, and all the reasons why that works for time management. But view it again in terms of spurts of energy and high intensity and renewal. And that's why call blocks are so key. Have a dedicated time where you're going to make recruiting calls or marketing calls or sourcing calls where you can really get your energy up, right? And you could do that throughout the day. Just marry that with the concept of getting as much stuff as you can do in the morning, and you're going to be shocked, okay? So let's think of ways now that you could monitor your energy. You just need to be honest with yourselves. For me, Monday morning is not my great time for anything. In fact, I try to keep my Monday as my light day as I'm planning and I'm thinking and I get back into my zone. And then you need to think about what gets you excited. So think about how energy works. Think about, anyone want to give an example when I said please come up with something that gets you excited? When you have a day where you're just unbelievable on the phone, what happened that got you that way? What are some of the things that just get you inspired inside? Whatever reason, it's a good day. Anyone?
A hot new search, a client that's ready to engage in this market.
So actually, by going out there and you get a hot new search, that gets you a real pump. What else?
Great candidates for somebody that talks to somebody that has tremendous background and experience in picture science.
That gets you pumped. What else? Come on, think about it. Think about things, man, I'm just in a... Closing a deal. How about things that are a little easier to get? Sorry? Some people get really pumped up by being planned. Others can't stand it. Know yourself for sure. What else?
Off script. I mean, just feel relaxed.
I just feel good. I'm not reeling a script. I'm in an ebb and flow. What else?
Good workout.
Some people, a good workout gets them going. Good workout gets them going, and that for them puts them in the zone. Great. What else?
Great feedback from hiring manager.
Great feedback from a hiring manager, from anyone. How about you ever have a client or a candidate rip you a new one, and it's ruined your day? You're not motivated? Anyone? Kind of saps your day. You notice your calls after that maybe aren't as good. Maybe it doesn't faze you. It phases many people. You can get great feedback. For me, that was a big thing. Could be in a candidate just checking in and having great rapport with them, and them telling you, thanks so much, what a great idea, a great tip, or you're the best. Makes you feel like $1 million. Anything that you do that gets you excited, you want to try to figure out what these things are, what these triggers are, and make them part of your life. It could be whistling. It could be, I've heard people say, I got a thing I just love. I'll take a break. I'm going to listen to 2 songs on my playlist, and it just puts me in a different place. Some people love deep breathing exercise. Some people love a quick thing of yoga. It's anything. I'm going to go outside and whistle. Some people say, you're not going to believe it. I go out, I scream at the top of my lungs, and I run around for a second, and I'm like a different person. It's awesome. Whatever. They don't have to be fancy. But do the things that get you pumped up in the day. If you get pumped up and excited on social networks, make that your lead into the harder calls. Then do that stuff to get you in the right mindset and the right energy level. So you just need to figure those things out. The things that you don't like and the things that you dread are the things that very often get you crabby or cranky. Don't do those before the money calls. Because again, you want to get yourself in a place where you want to just know yourself, you want to be honest. And again, know the days too. Maybe there are certain days that work, but here's the days where I'm going to do them. Here's what's going to get me going. I need to get some great feedback, or I know getting a good candidate is easier than a client. I'm going to work on the candidate. I'm going to call them and make some great calls. Awesome. I got them. Boom. I'm going into my sales pitch calls, or whatever the case is. I'm on a roll. Or you know what? Different things trigger me. I know when I get that feeling, as soon as I'm in that zone, I'm going to change my entire schedule, and now I'm going after those calls. I'm going after the 3 big targets that I've been aiming for, whatever the case is. Again, I don't want to make this any more complicated as that, but it's really super, super key to it. Right? So you work with your zones, you work with your time frame, and you just energy and renewal. And it doesn't mean you need to goof off, but that's my thing. I'll go nuts and I'll work some long nights. I'd rather work a couple hours at night knowing that, hey, in my case, and now my wife's going to find out about this, I'll take a nap. I'll plan it. You know what? It's going to be, I'm going to be tired. I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a 2-hour nap in my office on Thursday. Damn right I will. One of the most successful people I know takes a nap every single day. That's his thing. Now, he's the boss now, but he always wasn't. People thought he was crazy. He's like, let me take my nap, and you'll get your money's worth out of me. I nap. Well, who says that when they're like a young kid out of school? This guy's unbelievable, but he naps every day. He's young. He just turned 40. So there's no physical issues going on there. But, you got to figure yourself out there with it. So it's... There's a bunch of tips on here just on general time management and things you could deal with. Interacting with people, unless it's a bad experience, are typically very energizing. So social networking, there's a lot of studies, and people think that it doesn't actually motivate, that it takes away the connection, it takes away that sort of emotional connection that you have with people. And that's a real problem. Emailing clients, emailing candidates back and forth never allows you to get that renewal that they often bring when you do talk with them. So I'm not saying not to use email, but I will suggest this. Please never use it during your deals. I mean, the people that are emailing now back and forth, how'd the interview go, Mr. Client? Email me, oh, it went great. Please don't do it. That's a last resort kind of thing. The candidate sends a text or an email after the interview. Yeah, I think it went really well. Will you take it if they offer you so-and-so? Please don't. It's a really bad thing to do. You're losing the connectivity. You will get pumped up by someone that you talk to, that sounds exciting. All right, if they're excited, you're going to be excited. You want to use all these things. Yes?
What if you're working in numerous different time zones?
Well, look, avoid it. But of course, sometimes you're going to have to. But still, for the real money calls, you want to set up a call. So different time zones. Look, I know you work all over the world in mining, right? So God knows what time it is in Dubai when you're dealing with it. And when you can, you're going to want to try to set up one time. There's almost anything that works. Get Skype or get a higher phone bill and try to do it. So you're going to need to use email more than others. I get it. But don't fall back on that as the excuse to always just do email, because you lose so much. Not just the energy, but also the ability to really sell, to really get the hidden emotion and the hidden concepts that are in there. Okay? All right, so there's a bunch of time management tips which I think are great. I didn't want to make that for you. So I give some basic tips of other simple things you can do. Planning breaks throughout your day, right? Enjoy that post-sprint to be less productive and play. I plan my playtime. I really do. It doesn't mean I don't do work. And if I'm in a great place, I'll do more work calls or more productive calls. But I might decide I'm just going to play on LinkedIn. I'm going to play on it for 3 hours. I deserve it. I just worked my butt off. Or I'm going to do some holiday shopping online. Or you know what? I'm going to get a piece of pizza, take a walk outside. And believe me, this isn't in my DNA. I was never, ever wired this way. I just learned how to do it, and it works great for me. Because I could be unbelievable. I mean, I'm not like this all the time. I'm really not. So don't worry that you sort of need to be. I'm like this in big sprints. And then I'll just chill when I'm doing it. Or I'll go back and I'll do nothing. But I can do this, and I always could. And I don't just mean speaking. Whatever you're going to do, I can do it in big bursts and blasts, and then you get the payback. And I think that's the key to life, and so many people talk to you about this. So there's some other tips on there about emotional energy and spiritual, and again, there's some great handouts for you. But I want to say on the emotional level, be very careful about any of the negative things, and you can control it. You cannot control when a client yells at you or a candidate yells at you for something. But you can avoid the negativity in your lives, and you can avoid certainly the negativity in your office or people you associate with. Stop associating with or talking with the crabby people. They will not help you. Disassociate. And I'm sorry, it's not easy to do. And I'm Joe Positive, so of course I'm like that. I don't need to sit around the water cooler. Okay, I did when I was younger. I realized it was disastrous. I did nothing for me but make me crabby. Yeah, it was fun when I was younger. Yeah, what about hey, believe what old Smith did to it? Great. Not good. So even if you're a person that loves that stuff, stop doing it, because it really kills your energy and your emotional energy completely. And on the same note, if you work with any cancers in your office or you employ them, fire them. And if you have someone, then you make it known to your boss that this person is killing you. It makes it really hard. They will eventually get fired. And as a manager, I'm a huge believer in that and the power of getting rid of the cancer. So, how you refuel, it's not just about work, it's about anything you do, but I think you don't need me to tell you to visit a museum or do yoga, whatever the case is. On the mental energy element, I just want to point out that mental energy is thinking, and that takes an awful lot of energy to think, just to think. Not just now the performance or being good, right? The brain represents 2% of the body. It takes up 25% of its oxygen. It requires an awful lot of effort to sit and think, and that's doing anything, whether it's going through resumes or you name it. So, again, it's critical on the same note that you do take these breaks. So, again, we get the emotional energy level, right? Then you get the mental energy. And again, little ways, the interval training that I talked about earlier is key. And you're working breaks there. Okay? We talked about the Discovery Channel and how you can expand your capacity, but you expand it just by doing this. Your body will actually get used to and love these sprints. Why can't I be a machine a handful of hours a week? Again, if I say it's 10 hours a week that I'm going to be a machine, I'll be more productive than most people are in 40. I will. And I get to play, and I'm still doing work. I'm not saying, right, it's 3 hours and I'm going home, or I'm tuning out. I mean, I gave you some examples of what you can do. But, I mean, again, all that stuff really, really works. So, and it ties back in the spiritual. I really got to them when we talked about truth and your compelling reason of why you do it. So, you know, the bottom line is, this is a keynote opening. I think it's motivational in a lot of ways as we look at where the segment is of our business. But I've dealt with so many people, and again, I know people that I say, God, how do you do it? How are you always so upbeat? And they're like, I'm not always so upbeat. I'm upbeat here, I do it. The most successful people that I've ever worked with and seen all get this. And it's not hard to do. But we talked about how unproductive people are, and your guess can only be why they're unproductive. And I think the experts hit it on the head, where it's about energy and the fact that we are wired, or I should at least say we've been programmed very differently from the realities of the world. This long, non-stop marketing call, I must hit 50 people this week, I must recruit 40, I've got to do that every single day, and this many connects, and every single week. You do, but it's not possible. So again, work with your energy, work with your ebb and flow. And you put that together with your time management, and you just get really good at disciplined focus, and you make this your own, and you're honest with yourselves, you will have I mean it, life-changing. It was for me. Life-changing, because I love simple things that you can do that could profoundly impact your life. How great is that? This isn't, all right, I need you to run those 83 miles, I need you to, reach Zen, by the way. Right, and I need you to, find a new God, and, you can change your life by focusing on these things and by getting more productive and more efficient. So, again, we talked about compelling reasons. Tim's going to get into it next with one of the best that I've ever heard that really gets into it. I thank you all so very much for coming, and we'll get on with the show after I see any questions at all on any of this. I'm not going to keep asking that. We'll just assume. If you guys have questions, chime in. All right, so let's keep on outperforming the storm. Welcome to Extreme Boot Camp, and you'll see plenty more of me. Thank you, guys.